Town of Rome Board meeting to order for Thursday, February 16th, 2023. Number 2, roll call starting from my left.
Jamadi here.
Minter here.
Asdell here.
Goldman here.
Numbers, and Mr. Bar Heights on vacation. Number 3, certified posting of the meeting, please.
I certify that on Monday, February 27th, 2023, the agenda for the Town of Rome Board meeting for Thursday, March 2nd, 2023 was emailed to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune at 3:30 p.m., posted at Rome Town Hall at 3:35 p.m., at Quick Trip LLC at 4 p.m., and at Nakusa Port Edward State Bank at 3:55 p.m.
Thank you. Number 4, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve is printed.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Number 5, please stand for Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 6, citizen comments.
No
Nothing
comments.
presented?
No.
Okay, no action contemplated except possible referral to future agenda. 7, information updates, meeting recaps, recent correspondence, current events, and announcements. Laura, you have anything?
Yes, actually I do, thank you. Snow blast this year. All the volunteers received a letter. It was a long, fun weekend. And I'm excited to report on behalf of our Lake Association that they raised a little over $16,000 for local charities and organizations, which is $4,000 more than any other previous year. This year's receiving charities and organizations include Nakusa High School and Nakusa Backpack for Kids. Then in Rome, the Rome Police Department, Fire Department, and the Alex C. Dove Foundation, American Legion Post 65 in the auxiliary, the Rome Snow Bandits, and Room to Rome Dog Park. And in Adams County, the Food Pantry, the Humane Society, the Adams County Safe Ride, and Adams County Meals on Wheels. And then in the greater area, the Southwood County Humane Society, Marshfield Clinic Cancer Research, the Aspirus Riverview Foundation, Wisconsin Rapids Family Center, Wisconsin Freedom Honor Flight, the Wisconsin Rapids Boys and Girls Club, Mary's Place in Wisconsin Rapids, ODC, and Focus. So all of these groups have benefited from all the work, all the volunteers, the Lake Arrowhead employees, and everyone else that helped that weekend. So thank you to Lake Arrowhead. That's all.
Dan?
I have nothing.
Dan? I have nothing. Jamie?
I had 2 items. First item is I did provide for you a interim update of where Associated Appraisal is in our market reevaluation. Again, we budgeted for this over 2 years. We're going through that interim market evaluation. That's not an individual visit from the assessor, but doing the data mining research on comparables and property sales, because we are below our 10% compliance and need to do a reevaluation. This was our determination through the Board of Review that we would process it this way with Associated Appraisal, and they're providing these nice percentage completed of each of the items of each of the steps in order to do that. So this one is for March. When we get our April, I can provide that for you just so you know where they are in the process. In addition to that, I just wanted to mention Supervisor Jamadi and I will be attending Central Wisconsin Days that's sponsored by Synergy, and they did send out an email today that they're wanting to get up to 100 attendees from Central Wisconsin. It's on Wednesday, April 5th. Items that they've said at this moment that they would cover, and they'll put out resource documents about our child care, housing, and taxes. But if anyone else would like to attend that advocacy day, please let me know. This one would be in addition to March 30th, which Supervisor Minter, Jamadi, and I will be attending. That one's specifically for towns down at the Capitol.
I do have one other announcement then, if Jamie's completed. This one's actually pretty exciting. We all received an email on it, and I think our community should know that our Rome Water Utility Superintendent, as well as the administrative assistant there, Robbie, and Chad Ziegler, both received nominations for Superintendent Water Operator of the Year. as well as Administrative Assistant of the Year, received nominations for their banquets this year. So hopefully they'll receive those awards. We'll find that out soon when they have their banquet. So wish them luck.
Jamie, you done?
I'm done.
Discuss and possible action on the following items. Number 8, discussion and action approval of the February 16th, 2023 meeting minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
Move to approve the minutes.
I'll second with some corrections.
Discussion?
Okay, the correction would be on, let's see here, under number 12. It'd be on the second page underneath where it says Chairman Hasdell stated that he would like to require that all submittals be to scale. Said discussion regarding to scale drawings will be brought to the Plan Commission. Motion carried with Hasdell opposed. The motion and the second, who made the motion and who made the second is actually missing.
Okay.
So we just need to have that corrected, please, Madam Clerk, if you can do that.
Yep.
So that correction is necessary.
I'm sorry, but doesn't it say motion
Yeah.
by Jamadi Goldman to approve right above?
Yeah. Middle paragraph,
That's an ordinance.
yes.
But that
That's for the zoning, that's for changes to the zoning for Articles 2, 3, 4, 5.
Did we made a motion to
But we're talking about
discussion of scale
scales,
drawings at Plan Commission?
but we're talking about scales for,
There was no motion
no
on that.
motion. Yeah, there was no motion for that.
The motion carried probably should go up above that paragraph, possibly.
okay, the motion for Jumadi and Goman was to approve the change to the recommendations for the ordinance, but we're talking about, we had made a motion and a second. Okay,
There was no motion made for the discussion on the scale drawings. It was just a notation.
We could move that just underneath that paragraph and then leave the Chairman Hasdell stated as a separate paragraph underneath. That he'd like that discussed back at Plan Commission.
Any other discussion?
so he,
If you're doing that, I would just make a note then that during discussion, that was, because technically, I think that's why that is formatted that way, is the motion was made, and then during discussion, that conversation happened, then the vote took place after that. I think those are probably
Yeah.
accurately reflecting what took place. You could certainly move it up if you felt that was.
so then Hasdell did oppose the accessory structures? Oh, okay, all right, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 9, discussion only, School District of Nakusa, presentation provided by Director of Business Services Lynn Knight and District Administrator Terry Whitmore. Good evening, folks.
Yeah, we have several representatives here. I think School Board President's gonna start. Do you wanna come up to the mic and then when you guys are talking, just talking to the mic? Sure. Yep,
Microphone's on.
It's on.
yep.
All right, good evening. Thank you guys so much. Just want to start off by thanking you for your support. Just hearing about the support that you've given to the school districts and giving back with Snow Blast and the fundraising and giving back to your communities, which is probably one of the reasons why we're here too. We value your guys' support. Because of your support, we've able to improve our academics and athletics. So the district is thrilled to be back to the quarterly meetings, to keep having these discussions to kind of benefit both the towns and the communities and the school districts. So with me tonight, I have some other board members, Pat Urszewski. Yep. We have Mark Lochner, our business manager, Lynn Knight, and then Terry Whitmore. We're excited to keep meeting with you guys quarterly and expanding. I know right now we're working on our school forest where we've got some parking put in, working on some trails, and even some disc golf. So I'm going to kind of hand over some of the school district operations and funding information over to Lynn Knight if she would like to come on up, and she is our business manager. Thank you.
Thanks, Cody. So just to give you a little background on the school district of Nakusa, we are in five municipalities. So we are, the town of Rome, unfortunately, consists about 65% of our tax base for the school district of Nakusa. The town of Rome only has about 155 students coming to Nakusa out of 1,250 students. So you fund most of the school district, and you have the least amount of kids coming to the school district. So the school district of Nakusa is funded by two sources, property taxes and state aid. Because Nakusa is 65% part of town of Rome, we are considered property rich. And because we are considered property rich, the state says, you don't need that much money from us. So we're gonna make the taxpayers pay more than what we do. So the taxpayers pay 80%. Funded the school districts by 80%, the state funds it by 20%. So it doesn't care about the economic status of our students, of our families. It doesn't care about how many students are coming from each municipality. Doesn't care about free and reduced status. It talks about property values, and that's it. So unfortunately, the town of Rome is footing most of the district's bill. How we calculate the levy and the mill rate is complicated. I have a master's degree in school business finance. So in order for me to explain how school districts are funded within a 5-minute period is basically impossible. So all I can tell you is the funding. The state says we're supposed to be 2/3 funded by the state. We are the exact opposite. We are 2/3 funded by the property taxpayers and 1/3 funded by the state. So back in 2020, April of 2020, we needed to go to referendum. We needed an operating referendum to survive, and we also needed a capital referendum, as Cody mentioned, to reinvigorate our athletic program. And the operating referendum and the capital referendum passed overwhelmingly, which I was so happy about. That was the first time that we ever had to go for an operating referendum. And that is basically to help serve our students. In the state of Wisconsin, there are 423 school districts. Only 21 have never gone for an operating referendum. So that tells you that most taxpayers are funding their school districts. The ones that can't pass a referendum are part of those 21 school districts. And it's sad, because at some point, they're either gonna have to merge or they're gonna have to dissolve. Just like up in Forest County, Florence County, where they almost had to dissolve at one point, and DPI had to step in because they could not pass an operating referendum. We were lucky. We passed a $2.9 million athletic referendum and a $2 million 5-year operating referendum, which basically says that each year for the next 5 years, we're in year 3 right now, we are adding $2 million onto our base. Once that referendum expires, we will no longer be able to add that $2 million, and we're probably gonna have to do some massive cutting. So we made some promises when we went to referendum. We basically said the mill rate will be flat, or it will only increase by 0.4 cents for every $100,000 property value. In year 1, we kept that promise. Our mill rate went up to $10.17 from $10.13. In year 2, we kept our promise again. It went from $10.20 from $10.17. In year 3, it decreased by 49 cents, so we kept our promise again. And that is because the property values in the town of Rome, in our other 4 municipalities, have increased by 19%. And that is unheard of. Across the state, I believe Nakusa School District is probably in the top 10% of the increase in property value. So when we talk about mill rate, it went down 49 cents. So that means that the levy amount that we levy is spread out over more value of land. So if the property values decreased by 19%, the mill rate would increase. So it inversely affects each other. So we are funded by state grants, we're funded by federal grants, but in 2 years, we are gonna have to go for a referendum again. And we, the board and the superintendent and I are already working on sending that message out to municipalities. I don't know what the future is for the biennium budget. I don't know what the future is for the state or what the future is for property values. I can only project. So with that, I am going to pass it over to our superintendent to talk about what we did with the referendum money.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you again for having us out tonight. We appreciate it, and we are looking forward to coming back and getting on the agenda on a regular basis. And one thing I do want to mention, that we're sharing some of these facts that Lynn had shared tonight, and then just talking a little bit about the operating referendum and how those dollars are being put to use. So if you have other questions outside of these discussions tonight, what we're sharing, please get those questions to us, and so that we have a reason to come back, right, and have further conversations. So Lynn talked about that promise around the finances. Another promise that was made was we wanted to maintain and improve current educational programs and services to our students. And that called for, we had really fallen to a low as far as our salaries. So what that referendum was able to do, and we were losing teachers as a result of our salaries. So we were able to do some salary increases. And then we also are working effortlessly to really retract and retain. And it's hard to get people to want to move to Nakusa in the first place, but once we get them, we certainly want to keep them. So we're training them up and helping them meet the needs of kids. Another promise was add a student services staff member, and you know, with everything we're hearing in the news, and we hear about it daily, kids are coming to us with more and more needs. So we hired a social worker that was well needed, and we have put her to use, and she's really serving well. And one of the things that we're really working hard to do is build alliances with the county and their social workers, so that we're not duplicating services. So she's really worked hard, and part of it is getting the right person, and we found a really gem in the social worker that we hired. Another promise was technical education. We had a tech ed lab that was from the vintage years, the 60s and 70s. I mean, very, very outdated and old, and so we read that needed a new facelift. So part of that was the community said, yep, we agree, we want to be growing people that can go out and work in the manufacturing places, ag, out in the industries that really our communities are calling for. And so we also asked for another teacher in that tech ed department. So we have one tech ed teacher yet, because they're so hard to find. What's happening is tech ed teachers are going and working for the private sector because they can make so much more money. So we're still looking for and grooming for our second tech ed teacher. We just had a conversation with the board last night about this topic. How do we work differently if we can't find somebody that's going to come out of the technical or the four-year college ready to serve in a tech ed classroom? What can we do to attract somebody, grow them, and build them right here? So we're working on that. And certainly, you know, the importance of, you know, we're hearing there's huge job shortages coming in those technical areas. Another piece of the promise was adding coaching and interventionists. So more and more kids coming to us with higher needs. That calls for more and more support in the classroom. So we're really training up our teachers to work with the diversity of kids that are showing up at our doorsteps. And then for those kids that aren't making it, how are we giving them what they do need so that we can get them up to grade level? And the other piece that the district has done over the last 10 years is we have seen, and I think we've all heard about virtual learning. So lots of kids and parents are keeping their kids home, and they're learning at home, and you see it on the news all the time. Well, Nakusa took advantage of that, and we knew that we could offer a service and yet bring in some more students, right? And students equals a revenue, so we're always looking for ways to save our taxpayers, right, the owners. So we started this, it's called Wise Virtual School. And we started out with 5 kids. We went to 20, 25, 50, and we're now at 220 kids. So we're serving kids from around the state, and that's helping offset those costs that our taxpayers have to pick up. So one of the other questions that Jamie had mentioned was, and it's really important also to note that with that the diversity that's coming to us, we are having to switch up our teaching practices so that we can meet those diverse needs. So we're really working across the district to articulate what happens when kids come in as 3-year-olds. How do we build systemically on what they learn to the 4K, 5K, all the way up through senior high? And that's a big effort to make sure that that's all synchronized. So we're working hard on that. And the other piece that Jamie had talked to me about was, so how is this paying off, right? And one of the areas that schools are assessed, every year they do a report card. So I shared with Jamie, and I think she shared with you, the results of our latest report card, and we've got a lot of work to do, right? We're changing up our practices, trying to make up from the COVID years. You can see that we're meeting expectations as a district. Our elementary school is meeting few expectations, and the middle school and high school are meeting expectations. So we have a lot of work to do, and I can't wait to have people come back and share the news that we are moving the needle, because we certainly want to be a district that's serving your community, the town of Rome, and the other municipalities. We want to be exceeding expectations. So we are setting the table for that, and we certainly appreciate the support that you guys are giving to the district. So what questions do you have?
I have one.
Yeah.
You said the state pays 20% and taxpayers pay 80. Across the state, what is the average? Was it that 25 back and forth?
We're an anomaly. So, what the state says is that we pay the schools 2/3 funding. So what they do is they take the aggregate of the 421 school districts, and they look at the average, and if the average says they pay 2/3 funding, they can say it. So they do.
All right. I had another one question. My wife was doing a little research on our tax bill because our school went up 13.2%. But what we kind of figured out, and tell me if we're wrong, is that it's based on the true value and not the assessed value. Is that correct?
That would be a
Partially?
question for Jamie or the clerk, because what we do is we give the town of Rome a levy amount, and how that equates to the tax bill, I don't know.
It's assessed value.
It is assessed value. Okay, so being reassessed this year, that should put us equalized, then it shouldn't jump again next year. So, okay.
You would hope.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's nice to see the improvement.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I think Lynn put it well, though, that the value goes up, that it might spread off across, but likely your taxes would increase too, right? Taxes would likely increase, but that number will get spread against more value.
And if the values decrease, that's when we're gonna hear a lot of chitter chatter.
How many
Are not-
students did you say we had in Rome, from Rome?
155.
Okay.
I don't know if you know too, we are advertising your board meetings on our Channel 300
Good.
site. We just need to get a little banner underneath there saying what it is, because these people are up there and say,
Who are they?
who's that? So,
Well, thank you for doing that.
thank you for coming in, appreciate it. It's interesting to see the improvement here. That's heartwarming, yeah.
I know that Scott Krug is advocating for the school districts and the schools to get more money now now it seems that they've actually upped the amount that they think is in the budget. That's now they're saying it's 7 point some,
Billion,
yes.
yes. So,
That the schools will get more of that money. How much of that do you really anticipate, do you see?
with the GOP,
Right.
not much. And I can tell you, I have been advocating for years to change the school funding formula at the state level. And because we're on the losing end of the funding formula, we're on the losing end. So there are a ton of taxpayers or a ton of legislators fighting like heck to change that funding formula over here. And then the ones that are winning, they're fighting like heck to keep it the way it is because they're winning. So because of this pull, nothing gets done.
Even with that amount of excess.
Yeah.
Well, it's not already 7 billion. They've already hidden 3 or 4 billion into future, so that's gone
Yes.
already.
Yes. Unfortunately.
Can we take a question back?
Sure.
You were talking about building,
Can you come up to the mic so everyone can hear the question, please?
I could probably do that.
Thank you.
Mark Lebecki. You were talking about building alliances with the county. Which county, or both counties, or you're Wood County, we're Adams County?
Wood County,
Okay.
sorry.
Now, being as how we're Adams County, shouldn't there be an alliance built with that also?
Yes, and we're constantly working on it.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm sorry.
I can hear you, but okay.
Yeah, great question. So, talking about building alliances so that we don't have the overlap is what you're talking about. So perhaps a social worker at the county and the social worker at the school district work together to provide services versus, is that what you're referring to?
Well, that's part of it, but then you've got your VOTEC opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
As they advance, you've got different ones in Wood County than we have in Adams County.
Yeah,
And the school is the feeder
yeah,
to those,
yeah.
or a beneficiary of that.
Absolutely. So what you're really talking about is building relationships with all organizations in our community so there's not overlap. So yes, so like we work closely with the Technical College, Midstate, and then we have built some alliances with Wood County, their human services. We also reach out to Adams County and Juneau County to work on building relationships with them. So our social workers then, in this case, social workers, are talking and working together to help a student or a family versus working in isolation.
And another question would be, looking at the accomplishments of our district over the past several years, we aren't ranked very high.
No, you're absolutely right.
Matter of fact, we're ranked rather low.
Absolutely.
And for the investment that this town has, I think we can expect more.
And that's what I'm excited to come back and share.
Trying to bring that back now.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. We've got work to do. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I had another question on you, tech ed. What fields are you representing in tech ed?
We really try to we try to stay out front so that, advanced manufacturing, metals, woods, the lathes, the CNC routers. So really, we've worked with Midstate Technical College to really align the practices that we're doing at Nakusa High School so that they match up and so that we talk about career pathways. So kids can start their career pathway at Nakusa High School, earn some Midstate Technical College credits, and then go right on to Midstate and continue the programs. So,
CAD programs too?
yep, yeah.
Terry, about the measurements that Marcus
Oh,
talked about.
Snap-on.
The certifications, yeah.
So Snap-on has they've got several certification courses that you can teach. And then what ends up happening is kids take those Snap-on certifications, and they've got the measurements, they've got car starting, they've got several different kits. I wish I could remember them all, but
Well,
instrumentation.
But the good news on that is the money that the tech ed department's getting back.
Yes.
Because of these certifications.
So if our kids get certified in these certain areas, and if they're taking courses that they get credit at Midstate, at the end of the year, when kids graduate, and if they've got these certifications, that the district receives funds back for those certifications. So lots of incentives for us to really be working and helping kids start off those career and tech career pathways.
Thank you.
Can I ask additional question of Lynn? Maybe for a future, I know that it's complicated, but for a future presentation, digging in more to how that funding works. I mean, if you're not in school finance, I think it's just not something that maybe you look at every day, right?
Right.
And maybe if we could see that, that would also help. I had shared with them that through our budgeting process, annually we have a town meeting and electors come out, they're present, they vote on our budget, but it would also be an opportunity for us to explain more what you guys are putting into that calculation for people that may not be going to your meeting but would come to ours.
I actually can take my budget presentation and kind of configure it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
And we all have contact with legislators too, that if we understood the formula better, we could all be
I'll
advocates.
give you all talking points.
Which is what we can do on Capitol Day.
Up to the podium, please.
Hi, I just wanted to,
Name and address, please.
huh?
Name and address.
Oh, Donna Hasdo, 241 Penhurst. What I wanted to explain is when Carl mentioned White was looking, at the tax, and I guess now I better understand. Actually, I found it yesterday that when you determine because I knew that your tax levy was 9.7%, correct? For
9.7% of what?
the levy rate was 9.7%.
$9.71.
$9,
Oh,
okay,
thank
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Okay.
9, okay.
Thank you.
9.7 for each 100,000, okay. And when I got my tax bill, I'm at 11.67. So it was like, okay, wait a minute, and Nakusa was only 9.03. But, so I totally understand, and anyone watching is, you used equivalized value.
Equalized value. Correct.
Equalized value.
Correct.
And that's what comes to the town. So, oh God, hard to explain, I'm sorry. But we're getting a higher amount
The assessed value.
to multiply times our assessed value. Because my assessed value was like 343, but my market value is 474. So we're only at 72%, and the town of Nakusa is at 99 or 97%, if the number is correct. So
But
that,
I'm determining your tax rate based on assessed value once you give me the number. So that's where I think the confusion comes in.
right, and it's
Because
right
I'm not
because
using equalized value for anything.
no, exactly. But because of equalized value, we're getting a bigger chunk of the pie that has to be broke out amongst everybody. So if anyone looked at, because the levy rate is published on State of Wisconsin site, and it's 9.7. So when I looked at my tax bill, it was like, well, how come I'm 11.67?
And we use the equalized value to calculate that $9.
Exactly, so we get a bigger
Yes.
piece of the pie, which is why I'm paying a higher percentage than Nakusa, who is at a closer rate of their assessed value and their market value.
And when I come back, I'll go
Equalized
to more depth on
value.
that.
Equalized value.
I guess you're figuring it out.
Huh?
You're figuring it out.
I figured it
It's
out when
difficult.
when I looked and equalized value came up, okay, now it made sense, we get a bigger piece of the pie.
But I think the confusion comes in too because you're using the term mill rate, and the mill rate for your school district is much higher than 9.7. So for the on our tax bill, because I use the word mill rate for the assessed bill. Okay, I
So
think
we're
that's
using
where
the same term,
we're
but it's for
using the
different
term
meanings.
for
Right,
two
it's
different
getting
things,
broken out,
for two different things.
Yes.
but we're getting a bigger piece of the pie. Okay.
I would assume we also have the highest equalized value of the 5 municipalities that go into the district.
Because you're 65%, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
yep.
Well, we thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So, as we alluded to, we would do these quarterly. So if we follow this same schedule, then the last month of every quarter for that first meeting, June, September, and December, we would have a brief update. Always, if there would be questions, to send those in prior to the meeting, and then those can be addressed and whatever would be put into the packet.
And it's much more fun to have questions, right, for us to come, right?
Sure,
So,
sure.
please get us questions. I mean, Lynn's got something that we can work on for the next time, but.
One other question. The tech ed, was that eliminated years ago? Is this all coming back new, or has it always been in?
It's always been, but. Sorry. It's always been, but what's happened over the years is we took any dollars that we had before the referendum and put it to the core of the onion. We had taken off all of the layers of the onion, so we didn't have dollars to refurbish the tech ed lab. Now, we are using those tech ed dollars that through the referendum to do a bunch of matching grants. So we're really trying to maximize those dollars to get the biggest bang that we can for our kids. So just know that, so we got $500,000, we're being very strategic in matching that 500,000 with other dollars that the state gives. A lot of times they'll give a grant and it's all matching. So, but yes, we had tech ed. We had a tech ed teacher that retired, and bringing on a new tech ed teacher, we've actually had 3, because we bring them in, we get them going, and all of a sudden another district wants them, or they want to go back home, right? So now we have a homegrown individual that's there. We want to complement his talents with another tech ed teacher that can work down in the early years and get kids really excited about those career pathways. So
Has enrollment been increasing in those fields?
yeah, sounds like we could do a little tech ed presentation too for the board.
Anybody else have anything else? Anybody? Thank you again, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Number 10, discussion and possible action, write-off of $518.82 of personal property taxes due to error in assessor dual entry for CB Advantage LLC.
So there was a memo included in your packet. This was just an error with the assessor, but because it was put onto the tax roll, we would need a motion to write that off.
Motion to approve the write-off of $518.82 assessed in error to CB Advantage LLC.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Number 11, discussion and possible action, update to contagious infection response policy and town response to COVID.
So there was a track changes in your packet. The main change here is really the return to work. We've just made it so the language would follow whatever is the guidance that's being put forth by Adams County Public Health, or Health and Human Services, to allow employees to return. As the COVID restrictions have lessened, and the timeframes for quarantine and mask wearing have changed, we thought our policy should just refer back to whatever is the practice at County Health and Human Services.
Okay, we need action on this then?
Yes.
Motion to update the town's contagious infection response policy as presented to the board.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion's carried. Number 12, discussion only, review timeline and potential meeting dates for the 2023 strategic plan update.
So again, a memo in your packet and a timeline was included. The memo does include the stakeholder meeting, identifies the individuals for the stakeholder meetings. Again, that's 15 to 17 in-person meetings that kicks off the process. And then we do the public input survey, the citizen comment period, which we've noted we would coincide with the town's annual meeting on April 18th. We thought that is a time frame when residents are used to coming to town hall. They know that the town meeting is happening. It might be a good opportunity where people already sort of have that time frame blocked on their calendar to do the public meeting that night. And then through that directional and methods phase, that's where we would have those half-day sessions. And I noted in the memo then if you could block your half days on April 27th and May 11th to join those sessions with hopefully a final report for your guys' review that would come back here on May 18th. So tonight, I just wanted to make sure that we felt comfortable with the schedule and with the dates, and we felt comfortable with I have noted 15 interviews, if there was more or changes that we wanted to make to that.
When are the interviews occurring?
The interviews will be virtual with Bill, and provided we're comfortable with the list tonight, he or his assistant would reach out and schedule it at a time when it worked into your schedule. Yep, and he would do it virtually so you could do it from any place.
Well, that's fantastic.
That works.
So on May 11th, it'll probably work virtual, but that's our diocesan system president's 2-day retreat on that May 11th and May 12th. Luckily, it's up in Wausau, so if I'm early in the day on May 11th, I can probably attend. If I'm late in the day, it's not happening.
So would early in the day, if
Before 9 a.m.
okay, I don't know that because it'll be about 4 hours. I don't think we could get before 9 a.m. But we could certainly get, you know, if we started at 8, you could get a chunk of it in.
Yeah, so I can get as much of it in as I can.
I have some questions regarding, first of all, if possibly we want to add some people to the list, but then also if we're maybe running into some rushing just a little bit regarding as far as the annual meeting. I know last year's annual meeting, I think we had 3 people here.
I don't know if that was last year. There was one.
That was last year.
There
We
was
had
a
3.
COVID year when we had very few, yeah.
Yeah, and last year I think was the return, and I think there were 3 people in here, maybe a total of, but I'm wondering if maybe, if we push this out a little bit further, if maybe when people start returning, we don't have all of our snowbirds back yet, that maybe we wouldn't get a better community meeting. And just pushing this out past the election, we have people returning from the winter months, getting back into their homes and have a better response. And also adding some people maybe from the CDA. You have Mike Baker on here from Plan Commission. You have also as a county board supervisor. What about the other 2 county board supervisors? Also maybe a CDA member. It just feels like we're kind of rushing into this when we've got so many other things already going on in the spring. You know, it just seems to me like we're kind of speeding into this. And again, do we really have had a chance as a board to really discuss this and sit down what we want to really truly come out of this? Because looking back at the other one that we had previously, Jamie, you look at the outcomes, the one thing that was really truly accomplished out of that was the sewer system. The rest of it, there were really no deliverables. So it's like, do we really want to sit down and discuss this as a board, have the new board member that's going to be coming on soon, have an opportunity to sit down and discuss that with us, and see what deliverables and outcomes we really want to see come out of a strategic plan.
Isn't that
Other
what we're
than
paying
maybe a
Bill
new
for?
vision. Excuse me?
Isn't that what we're paying Bill to do?
True. Yes, that's some of it, but yet we as a board too should have that discussion, I would think.
Well, and I think.
And
that's-
you look at what he gave you last time, what came out of that other than a document with no real results?
Well, a big piece of last time was infrastructure, right? And I think you see that with our expansion of natural gas. We put a lot of effort into the water utility plan and whether or not we were gonna expand water utility. We were very fortunate that Solaris was working on their project to expand fiber, and now that we're 100% fiber in the community. But I also think that's the continuation with committing the remainder of our ARPA funds for that additional expansion of natural gas. I think the last strategic plan infrastructure was that big focus, and that we wanted to be essentially shovel ready with infrastructure. At this point, it's indefinitely tabled for sewer, but I think it also lended to a lot of focus on infrastructure projects for the town.
But there were so many other things on there that were to be accomplished as part of that strategic plan, and I just don't see where that happened. And I'm entitled to my opinion, and I'm just pointing that out. And I think that as a board, I would like to see us have those discussions, and I just feel that, we're spending a lot of money on this. I'd like to see us have more of a discussion, and
Well, this is a discussion only moment.
it just
too,
seems
on
like
the-
we're rushing into it. We've got a survey that you wanna have done and a postcard out and something that needs to go online. There's elections coming up. I'm just stating the facts, so.
We also put on here a deadline that we wanted a final strategic plan by July 2 of this year. Which I understand May is before July, but the goal was that we'd have a finalized plan by July 1.
Just stating my observations and what my thoughts are. But I would like to see, if you're gonna have Plan Commission on here, we should have a representative from CDA, possibly the other county board supervisors, as well as maybe some small business owners.
We talked about potential small business owners, that it's just, the hard part is if you're limiting it to 15 to 17 on making that selection, and you would still have the opportunity for the other public inputs. I'm not discouraging that. If that's what the board would like to see, we can add those on.
I think the business owners can talk to us individually if they so see fit just let them know that we're available. I can't see adding more people onto this. And I do like the dates. I think the dates are good. Any other discussion? All right. Number 13, discussion only, update regarding the winter storm damage special brush and timber pickup.
So I just wanted to give an update of where we were at. I also included the flyer in the town board packet. Lots of individuals subscribe, to our notices, so they get a copy of the town board packet sent when I send out the meeting, so it's nice sometimes just to have that information also included in there. I did list in the memo that it is shared with the 3 associations, and they will share with their membership. It's on the town's website, the Facebook page, it's on the 3 posting boards, and it was in our piece of the newspaper, which we'll do again in the Rome specific section for City Times. It was a bullet point to note in there with the number to call. So as of today, we have, when I wrote the memo, it was 19 addresses. As of today, it's 21 addresses that have reported in for that winter pickup.
I think this was really well done. Congratulations. It was very well done.
Thank you. It was a whole staff effort, so I'll share that back with them.
Any other discussion on that topic? Number 14, discussion and possible action, approve request from the Rome Snow Bandits to waive rental fees at the Rome Town Center gazebo for the classic car, bike, and snowmobile show on June 17th, 2023, with setup starting at 3 p.m. on June 16th, 2023, and waiver of fee to be considered town event sponsorship.
So I just want to note with this is a little bit different than we've seen in the past, because we've had the conversation now with the band shell and pavilion. Obviously, we have cost associated with that, and we have maintenance cost associated with that. One way we offset that is with people that rent it. But if we waive the fees, then you don't have that income. So it hasn't necessarily been practiced in the past, but if we would waive the fee, we would ask these groups that waived fee would count as our sponsorship towards the event, which means you wouldn't be making an additional $100, $200 investment, sponsorship, not investment, but sponsorship in that event. We would ask for this waiver to count as that.
Refresh my memory, did we have the conversation yet about what rental fees will be when the gazebo's complete?
We did for the band shell. We put it in our
the
fee
band.
schedule, and I think we made it the same as what the gazebo is now. It might be if it's 50 or 25, I would just have to look at our fee schedule, but we do have it included on the fee schedule.
Okay.
So there is a rate for Rome resident and a rate for non-Rome resident, like we have for our other facilities.
Have you discussed that with them about waiving for sponsorship?
So, Snow Bandits actually came in last year, and it just wasn't, we had a long time to put it on the agenda. So I would have to revisit that with them to tell them that it would count as the sponsorship. But we've alluded to other groups that it's, the car show is a good example, right? You couldn't rent out the band shell because the car show is the whole park, right? Like you're gonna lose that rental for that day. I'm not suggesting somebody has asked either to rent it, but you lose out on that option if you're waiving the fee for the gazebo. And again, that's if the groups would be uncomfortable with that, we would have to revisit that at a later time, but at some point we do have to try and cover our maintenance costs for the facilities that we have.
That's reasonable. Can we get a motion, please?
Move to approve the request of the Rome Snow Bandits to waive the fee for the gazebo for the classic car, bike, and snowmobile show, with the condition that they agree that it will count as a town sponsorship of the event.
I'll second that, and I'll just make the comment that the town board in the future needs to hone in on what types of groups this will be permissible for at some point here.
We've talked about it many times before.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think we have anything that's true policy, right?
Other than they can come and ask for a waiver.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, there's a local nonprofit, and then there's certain types of beneficial organizations, we'll call it. You can define all this stuff, but the door is pretty wide open.
I agree. Bring it back. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Number 15, discussion and possible action, approve request from the Heart of Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce to waive rental fees at the Rome Town Center gazebo for the Gather by the Gazebo Music Series, June 13th, July 11th, and August 8th, 2023, with possible rain date of September 12th, 2023, and waiver of fees to be considered town's event sponsorship.
Here's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Are we members of we're members of HOW, correct? We pay a membership fee.
Yes, we are members of,
Right.
of the Heart of Wisconsin. This is a longstanding event that they've done down here.
I know, I helped start it.
So they also partner with Visit Rome on this event.
Correct.
This will be a great event that, to move to the band shell once the band shell is done too. It's a much better setting than for music.
It's also the type of event that's likely to cause the most wear and tear throughout the season on the band shell too, though, right? And it's
Yeah.
not a local nonprofit, per se.
It's not in Adams County. We are members, yes. So again, this would be that larger conversation if we put some parameters around it. They do a lot of advertising for this event, so there's also the piece of what we receive in advertising to bring people to it, right? Because they're advertising the town of Rome, so that offset.
In the past, in the beginning, when we started the whole thing, we would sponsor the event as well as give them the gazebo for free, plus offer food, which people would buy, but it's changed up through the years, so now what they're asking for is in exchange for the fees, it would be our event sponsorship. So they wouldn't come back then and ask us again to sponsor one of those nights.
No, we have, not the CDA specifically has sponsored one of the evenings and then tried to done like a networking event. I
Okay.
don't know, the CDA will have to discuss if they wanna do that this year again.
Okay,
But the CDA has sponsored one of the concerts.
Okay.
As I mentioned, Visit Rome, I believe sponsors all three helps to sponsor all three
Okay.
of the concerts.
Well, and I somewhat disagree with Supervisor Goman about the Heart of Wisconsin Chamber. Okay, it's not located in Rome or in Adams County, but it is our chamber bigger overall. I mean, I know Visit Rome is our visitors bureau, but it is the fact that they want to have it down here, I think is good, because there are other places up in Rapids in parks that have musical venues.
and some of our businesses do pay membership and belong to the chamber
Yeah.
and support it.
Some belong to Hart, some belong to both Hart and
And
Adams
Adams
County.
County.
Yeah, and so it's a mixture. I actually have totally off the subject, but I have asked with the chambers, could we do like a joint rate? And somehow they figure it out, and our businesses could belong to both, because I think there's benefits with both being right on the border.
Right.
Yes, there's a divide in my head between what the chamber does versus what a local organization that's run by members donating their money and time does, or other organizations that are raising funds for the greater good, for health causes and things like that. So that's where my head is. But in any event, we're not gonna solve any of that tonight, so I'll make a motion to approve the request to waive rental fees for the Town Center for Heart of Wisconsin Chamber in lieu of, or to be considered as the town's sponsorship.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Number 16, next agenda items.
So I have two funding requests that would come from our community can fund for the next agenda. And we would need a resolution. The Visit Rome and the town are submitting a Transportation Alternatives Program grant, TAP, for the Link the Lakes project, and we would need a resolution of support. But we will not have any plan commission items. There's no plan commission items to be referred to the next town board meeting. It's very odd for us. We usually always do.
Would it be too hard to put together some sort of language related to the type of organizations we want to consider for waivers?
I do have it noted as likely a future agenda item.
Okay.
We can work
But
on it.
probably not for next time.
If we have it ready, it certainly could be.
Okay.
But I'm hearing from you that there's a desire to review and put in place a policy, and we will.
Would make our decisions easier when they come.
Yeah. For
Then
sure.
we're not acting from our heart necessarily,
Yeah.
we're acting from our head at that point in time.
Understood.
Well, and if you were comfortable at that point, if you had it written out in policy, is it something that staff could just approve and say, then you wouldn't even necessarily have to see them.
And bring that page of our fee chart back, cause I think we did have fees that were higher for when the band shell was completed. I think we had discussed it at one point that they would be,
I can email
because
out
of the
our,
kitchen, yeah,
I can email out our fee chart, our fee schedule.
yeah.
Yep.
Anything else on the agenda for next? Okay. Number 17, next meeting date and time.
March 16th, 5 o'clock.
16th already.
Can I ask, what is the April meeting schedule, including the town meeting?
So at this moment, the April meeting schedule would be April 6th, April 18th, and potentially April 20th if we had agenda items that weren't already covered for some reason.
April 18th is the town meeting. Yeah.
Yep. And that's, step by statute, it has to be the third Tuesday.
So April sixth and April,
18th,
and then the,
20th.
thank you.
But again, if for some reason we didn't have agenda items, or those agenda items could be covered on the 18th, then maybe we wouldn't have the 20th. Cause I know sometimes we've just gone, we've held a regular town board meeting right afterwards and handled business.
Plan on doing that?
That would be my preference.
What's that?
That would be my preference, just
Sure.
have the regular
Yeah.
town board meeting after the annual, whatever that meeting is called.
Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. We are adjourned.
Meeting adjourned 5:56 PM.